into a new world of gods and monsters. It's alive!
Here's Johnny.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, I'm telling you, brother, it's a frightful sight to see what goes on Halloween night.
And we're back. John, Melissa, how you guys doing?
I'm great. I'm better this week.
Yeah, a little more happier times this week than it was last week.
Yeah,
we got Infinity Pool and Society. So I guess let's just get right into Infinity Pool. Since I had you guys put the work in for the plot, I'll do Infinity Pool's plot today. Basically, it is Alexander Skarsgård and Cleopatra Coleman as James and M. Foster. They go to this resort where you're not allowed to go outside of the resort because bad shit can happen. But Mia Goth and a guy named Jaleel Lesford as Albin kind of convince him to go, hey, let's go to the beach. Let's just go hang out, relax. On the way back, in the middle of the night, they do a I know what you did last time, and run someone over and actually kill them. And the police end up taking Alexander Skarsgård and Cleopatra in, and they give him a deal. They go, if you're able to pay, we'll do a clone of you, and the family will kill that clone, but you have to watch. And then all chaos ensues after that. I'll start with Melissa today. Melissa, what did you think of the plot of Infinity Pool?
I really like the concept of this film, and I felt very similarly to his other film, Possessor, where I really liked the concept of it. The imagery of the film is really cool for the most part, but I just think the execution of all of it didn't fully work for me. So I guess in regards to the story, it didn't fully work. It was like almost there, and maybe that's why it's like a little frustrating, because it's like I think this could have been like really, really good, but it didn't quite like
hit your expectations.
Yeah,
that's completely fair. John, how about you?
I loved Infinity Pool. Basically, when I first watched Possessor and Antiviral, I had a suspicion that like Brandon Cronenberg was like just being ghostwritten by his father. But now I actually think that he actually is this good. So like I apologize for anything I've said on video prior about Brandon Cronenberg being helped by his dad. He actually is like coming into his own, and it is a fantastic film. And the fact that you gave the plot and like it sounded like you were spoiling the plot, Mike did not spoil the plot because that's like the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
And I think that the genius, I guess, I'll say that the genius of Infinity Pool is the fact that like it takes you down a lot of like philosophical corridors, and it doesn't necessarily explore them all the way. It like takes you like, hey, what about this? And then it backs off. Or hey, what about this? And it backs off. And it really is kind of like the other movie we're going to talk about today. It's a huge criticism of people that just have way too much money and way too much time and are just how they treat the rest of society. And I think that's really the real message, because like when we get to the spoiler part, I'll talk about it more, but it really like it gets going, and it keeps going like long after you're done watching it, because then you go, oh wow, that happened. Oh, that really means that the whole time. And honestly, effects on point, kills on point, I guess, even though it just goes on forever. And there's a lot, I mean, maybe there's a few moments that I think go maybe a little too far from my personal taste, but it still didn't really detract from my overall enjoyment of the movie, because that's just the way it is. I guess they did have to push the envelope in every direction they could.
Yeah, well, you brought up, John, with the message behind it of basically rich people being rich and getting away with what they can is what I saw with this movie as well. And I think it's well done in this movie of them showing how much you can get away with if you have the money to back it up. And it's with this movie, it shows, especially with Alexander Skarsgård, how the effect of that actually has on him and what it does to him from the beginning to the end. And yeah, story-wise, I enjoyed the story overall. Like, yeah, I gave away the first 15 minutes of 15, 20 minutes of this movie, it goes in such wild directions after this. When I was first watching it and it got to that, I went, okay, so it's going to be about the repercussions of running over this guy. And it just keeps fucking going. And it goes even deeper than that. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I think Mia Goth, again, is coming into her own, and she just keeps it. Each movie that comes out, she's improving every time, and she's becoming a fantastic horror actress. Yeah, let's just get right into, in general, thoughts on it. If you guys have anything you want to bring up, scene-wise or character-wise.
I mean, I think the performances were really strong. You just spoke about Mia Goth. She's my unhinged queen. Like she knows how to do unhinged, and I think she does it really, really well. Because like physically, she has like these doughy eyes, and she kind of looks. There's like an innocence about her face, but man, that's not at all what's happening here. and I think just that like the, I don't know, that clashing of that, I think is why she is just so good in this role. And then I do think Alexander Skarsgård is really great in this role as well. I mean, I mean, she pets his ego, feeds his ego.
Oh, yeah.
And then like, you know, later in the film, ego death, you know. But no, I thought his performance was really great. I think, I guess the issue that I have is I think there was a lot of good side characters that weren't really utilized, including his wife, James's wife, M. I felt like she kind of was like there and then she left. she just was very underutilized. I feel like in regards to like the narrative of the film, I feel like she could have helped make it a little bit stronger, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll agree with the M thing. Like she is brought in, and it looks like she is going to be a big part of this movie, but they don't really give her an actual character. She is literally just his wife that is having to deal with the situation, and then she does just take off. And I think it does have an effect that it puts it all on him as an actor to hold their conversations together, because she doesn't really get anything to work with, unfortunately, when it comes to any dialogue or any like really meaty scenes. John?
I would say I agree, but I would argue probably that's probably symbolically done on purpose, you know, without giving too much into the spoilers. Like he's revealed to not be what he purports himself to be, and that she is the reason why he is the way he is, and that she is like his basically sugar mother, you know. And so in that sense, like that is her character. It's like she exists to create him. So
yeah,
I'm not going to say Brandon Cronenberg went full symbolic on it, but it works if you want to make that argument.
Yeah.
And then John, for other characters, what did you feel about Albin as a character?
You know, typical like new old money Euro trash American. But yeah, like I said, like without getting into the spoilery part of it, like clearly, like there's revelations like that this has just become a corruption, and it's become like a low key Illuminati thing that's going on this island. And this is obviously the events of the movie. This is not the first time they've happened.
Yeah.
So, he's again not overshined by Mia Goth on purpose, obviously, but definitely there. And he is her like sugar daddy, I guess, like allowing her to live her life. So there's like a good parallel to the relationship Alexander Skarsgård and Cleopatra Coleman have.
And the one thing Melissa brought up was the little teasing that Mia Goth does to Alexander Skarsgård, and it all starts on that beach, and it just continues to go down. It goes down a huge hole of that. And they work so well together. I really like their chemistry in this. They work so well. So we teased a little bit. So yeah, I think it is time to get into some spoilers for this, because a lot of the movie is spoilerish. So yeah.
Speaking of that beach, 2 weeks in a row, we have a movie with a hand job in it. So keep it going for next week.
So yeah, spoilers wise, once the initial kill happens of him seeing himself killed, you find out there's an entire group that this has happened to continuously, and they have turned it into a game of sorts of what they can get away with and seeing what kind of kills the family will do with them. What did you guys feel of the reveal of the entire group in general that Alexander Skarsgård kind of gets initiated into?
I mean, again, I think the whole thing is about ego. Like, he's this author that nobody read his book. He's like a loser. And Mia Goth's character just plays into that, like, oh, I read your book. I'm such a big fan. And like, that just hooks him in to like, at the very beginning of the film. And then like, as things unfold, it's just like, oh shit, these people are crazy. But I think he likes it. Like, I think maybe he has a part of himself that is a bit darker, or maybe wants to do these type of things. And I do think the film does explore a really interesting idea of like right and wrong, and just like that these people don't really have any true consequences. And like, if you had the opportunity to like, you know, do something without any consequences, like, would you do it? Like, it kind of has this interesting message that it's, I feel like, conveying a little bit of like right and wrong.
Yeah,
I like it.
I think the interesting part is they kind of like lay all the pieces down to kind of like cover any potential like logical plot holes in the movie. Like, even when they're describing the process, they go through like the motions of actually saying, oh yeah, the person's going to basically come online, they're going to wake up, and they're going to have all your memories. Like, it's going to be you. They're going to think they're you. So it raises all the questions, and they drop little like tidbits here and there in the movie, like, hey, do you think you might be the clone?
Yeah.
And there's even the scene when like they somehow get one of his clones, and he's like face to face with his clone, like in the house, and they go through every like permutation of like just insanity in this movie. Then to the point like when they totally kind of reveal that no, you're not one of us, really. You're the mark. Like, apparently to the next level of our game, we bring in a person that doesn't deserve to be part of our group, and we're going to just absolutely break you to the point that, like, you know, and then at the end, after they've totally broken this guy, it's like, oh, hey, fantastic. I'm going to go back to the United States. Hey, I'm going to go have dinner with my parents. I'll see you guys next week. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes of this movie is the second time where they're all caught, and it cuts to them in that little waiting room. And then they see that they all are grabbed at this point, and they're all taken in. And you think that it's actually, the fucking island is now tired of these fucking people, and they're gonna take them out this time. And then it's fucking revealed that they're all watching themselves get killed yet again. I just love that reveal of just cutting to them all, because it waits to the last second to do that reveal. It gets them all up there until Mia Goth has her throat slit, and then it cuts away to them watching this all ensue.
And you actually get to see the subtlety, like the first time when Alexander Skarsgård watches himself get killed, it's horrific.
Yes.
And it slowly turns into like, oh shit, it's Thursday, you know, this is fantastic. You know? And like you see that transformation throughout the course of the movie, and like that's when you're like, well, geez, I guess, you know, if this is the way it is, like, you know, would I react the same way? I don't know. You know?
Yeah, and I do like I guess those are the parts of the film I liked best, because it does have like this comedic feel to it. Like, they're like in the stadium seats, like, woo! Like, I kind of want to just like lean into that a little bit more, just some of the campiness of the film, because we get like little pieces of it throughout. But I think that was a problem I had. It felt like the tone was a little uneven. I kind of wish they just leaned into that a little bit more, for me personally.
Oh, that's completely fair. Yeah, the tone does go in different places a lot of the time. It doesn't really have a distinct one tone to this at all. It leans heavily in one direction and then just sprinkles in the comedic moments throughout, the darker comedic moments.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. John, what do you feel?
I would say like there's even like, and then like I'm thinking about it right now, and I'm like, I'm going even deeper into the movie, because it's like you figure like the planning it must have taken for these people to do it, because there's even the scene at the end, near the end, when they have the other clone of Alexander Skarsgård that they've basically conditioned to be like a feral animal. And it's like, if you can imagine like the time they put in to like basically, if it's a perfect copy of him, to break it down to be like basically like Reek from Game of Thrones, like, you know, coming out after him, you know, it's like, wow, I mean, like, it must have been like such a like convoluted plan, and they pull it off, and it really leaves you like gut punched at the end of the movie, like because even he like doesn't leave, like he sticks around.
Yeah.
You know? Why go home?
And that scene in general becomes very vicious because you finally get to see Skarsgård basically come into his own of who he truly is by having to kill his own clone in a very vicious fucking fashion that he does. And yeah, but speaking of how he's killed, the effects in it, the special effects that they use in this mixture of CGI, of course, and actual practical work fucking wonders with this movie. What did you guys feel of the effects?
Oh yeah, I mean, I loved the effects, and that particular scene is probably the most brutal part of the film. And I know I'm kind of being harsh on it. I did generally like the film, but I'm a little mixed on it. But I feel like that should have been just a more impactful moment. But for me personally, it just felt like we already had seen him die so many times that the impact and how brutal it was, it didn't fully work for me. It didn't feel as like significant as it was trying to be. And then, him breastfeeding Mia Goth afterwards, like, oh, like it's very interesting. But no, I did really like the practical effects in the mix of CGI, and like the cloning process was very interesting and kind of campy too, with like the big like I don't even know the cheek spreaders, like I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, the thing from the game Mouthful, like oh.
Yeah.
John, how did you feel about the effects in general?
I mean, we're continuing a legacy here. Like, this is like it like I can't wait for Brandon to have a kid and see what he does. Or she does. I mean, you go all the way back through the history of the Cronenberg family, and you're guaranteed like something magical when when their vision comes to life. The teams they put together, the direction they give to those special effects, practical effects, and CGI effects teams, obviously, it's in a class of its own. So I mean, what but for the grace of God go I to say anything about a Cronenberg about special effects?
Yeah, that's completely fair.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys have any scenes that we haven't talked on that kind of stood out to you in a way?
I mean, I absolutely love when Mia Goth is like going off when James is like on the bus leaving and is like, Jamesy, like on and like laying on the car, just taunting him and like just breaking him down even more. Like, I mean, I loved that scene, of course.
That is such a fantastic scene. How about you, John?
I agree. That's probably the best scene in the movie. Like, it's just like the government is in control of what's going on that island, but they run things.
Yes.
Because they're like, hey, your tourism, like your whole economy is based on tourism, and the cornerstone of your tourism is sick fucks like us that come in and are willing to drop tens of thousands of dollars at a clip to get ourselves reincarnated. So who really runs things then? And the fact that they kind of goad Alexander Skarsgård's character, like, we're going to get revenge. These guys that screwed us over, we're going to get them. We're going to kidnap them in the hospital. We're going to go to the diplomat's house, and like everything is like they're allowed to do whatever they want. Like, they're attacking government officials with with impunity. It's like, yeah, all those. I would say probably the scene when they raid like the government official's house and they're torturing the people, knowing full well like they're gonna bite it. What? And like it's coming, and they know it's coming, and like, wow, they really don't care. Like that moment is probably the best moment in the movie for me.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, John. I was going to bring up the diplomat's house as well, because that's also the scene of Alexander Skarsgård not really, like, they tell him that they're going in there to rob, and they're going to take some things. So he doesn't really know exactly what their intentions are of going to this house until they get there and you just see them tied up, and you just see the madness that ensues with it. And he finally realizes, holy shit, I've gotten myself into this, but I kind of like it. Like, he tends to kind of like what's happening, which is he fucking does it so well. Anything else that you guys would like to bring up that we haven't of Infinity Pool?
I mean, I do think it's interesting, with Brandon Cronenberg like directing this and him making this film, I do feel like it is a little bit of like life imitating art in a way. Like I would say that the film feels like very personal to him. Like it feels like his guilt of nepotism and like kind of like coming to the screen. And I very much felt that, and I think again that's maybe why it didn't fully work for me. Like I felt his fear of like making this movie almost like in the movie, like. And it's like I could feel that, and I was like, I don't feel like you're sticking the landing, like maybe because of the pressure of his dad or whatever. But I do find that interesting about the film, that like, you know, obviously his dad is a legend, and like, you know, he's trying to make his own path.
Yeah, do you know, that's a good point that you brought up. I didn't like, it didn't hit that for me in the movie, that I didn't even actually think of it in that way, of him doing this story in a way of talking about the nepotism that he feels through his dad, and it does work. Like, he is definitely the son of his fucking father. Like, he has the same abilities. That body horror aspect goes greatly with both of them, and I can't wait to see what he does further on down. John, what did you have anything else that you wanted to bring up, or in general, Brandon Cronenberg?
Oh, I mean, just having seen Possessor prior to seeing this, like I knew, like, you know, there was a direction he was going in, and like this is definitely a worthy, like, you know, next movie after Possessor. So, you know, remains to be seen what happens next. But he's definitely on an arc right now. So I'm excited to see what happens.
All right, so now we get to the video, the VHS tape reviews. Let's start with John. What would you give this out of half to 5,
Well,
or 0 to 5?
Like I said, I did check my Letterboxd before I came on, so this will match exactly what I said on Letterboxd. Again, you know, I've only seen it once, and just my ultimate gut reaction was I gave this 5 out of 5. Like, I was totally very excited about this movie. It might go down on rewatch. I definitely am hearing a lot of the stuff Melissa's saying, and I'll probably take that to heart the next time I watch it. It might go down a little bit, but right now I'm riding high. 5 out of 5. Definitely see this movie.
I like it. Melissa, how about you?
Well, I feel bad that I'm like making it go down for you.
Hey, it's reality. That's what film critique is. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, so I unfortunately did not get to rewatch this for the show. So I've only also seen this once in theaters, opening night. I was so excited. I was the only one in the theater, so that made me nervous. I am actually not gonna match my Letterboxd review. I'll go a little up just because I feel like it is something that has been like staying with me. Like I do keep thinking about the film, and I liked our discussion, and I like the discussion around the film. So I will give it 3 videotapes.
Ooh, I like that. It's a good score. I like that a lot. Now, I am leaning more towards John in that I absolutely did love it, and I do agree with Melissa that the second half of it, there's little things that don't hit as hard as they do in the beginning. So I went a little less. I went 4.5 VHS tapes. Pretty great fucking movie. On rewatch, I could see it going up for sure. I can't wait to rewatch it to see how I feel, especially after this discussion. So that is for Infinity Pool. Go, if you haven't seen it and you've been still listening to this, please go watch it, because it's definitely an insane movie that I think does it really well. Which brings us into the next one of Society. Who would like to jump on for the plot for this one?
A spoiler-free plot.
Yeah, as much as you can.
Sure.
And
Melissa, I think you probably go ahead.
I mean, I would say generally speaking, it's about a teenage boy, and he finds out his family's in a society. Like, I don't know what else you want.
He's going to make a great contribution to that society. I guess like to do a plot that's a spoiler-free plot, it's basically like kind of like your typical. It kind of follows the same plot as like any of your typical like coming of age, like something's wrong with the town kind of thing. And clearly, Bill, the main character, realizes that like something's up. Like some people are acting weird. Like, you know, there's definitely the way the rich people act in the town in Beverly Hills is different compared to like the regular people. And he starts to suspect that maybe like, you know, he's not really their son. And and every time he starts to question it or people question it, it's the typical kind of machinations of that type of storyline. Like there's a cover up and there's a mystery and then there's more cover up and there's a mystery and there's more cover up. But when he finally unveils what's going on, oh, just chef's kiss. And that's how we live in a society.
Yeah, the plot in general, up until the spoilery thing, is that your coming of age thing where it has that sense of mystery towards it because you have like the sister's ex giving him those tapes, and then it changing by the time he gets to his therapist to share with it, and you start to see, okay, something's kind of weird with this, and he is a part of the rich family, and he is kind of like the black sheep of it, to where he doesn't really feel like he fits in, and then it just goes into insane shit. So for this one, we're just going to get right into the spoiler part of it because this thing goes right away into spoilers for sure. It is no joke.
Oh, I could have talked about spoiling stuff for at least another 30 seconds.
So once it gets going, how do you guys feel about the overall cult aspect of the society?
I think it's even like gone over the top. Like it's not even really portrayed as a cult. It's portrayed as like something that's always gone on. Yeah. And like that the elite have always been this way, and that's why the elite are the elite. But actually, society, for what it is, for like a late 80s kind of like right on the cusp B movie, horror movie, really has a lot of depth to it. Like if you really look at it, because there's the whole angle where he's bringing it up to his psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist is just like, well, let me prescribe you medicine. So there's a whole aspect of like a criticism of psychiatry in this movie. There's definitely a lot of talk about like the difference between the classes, the desire to fit in. Like it's a lot for a movie that's only like an hour and 40 minutes. A lot happens in society for real.
Oh yeah. Melissa, how do you feel?
I mean, I definitely think this film is a bit ahead of its time in a way. But it's just a fun time. Like, it's just turn off your brain and enjoy it. But then, like John just said, like there is like some depth to it, some subtext. And I love these type of movies where it's like it's schlocky beef, horror beef, kind of fun, stupid, but like it still has like something to say.
There's a spy thriller element to it because the one dude's like a tech wizard. Like they do a lot. Like there's a lot.
Yeah, when they discover like the body is a fake and stuff like that, like it is schlocky 80s horror through and through. Like the acting isn't amazing. It's very campy, but at the same time, the messages behind it are real messages about the rich and what they do to actual society of people. And we got to bring up the ending orgy of hell that transpires in this, and then fucking just trying to suck on like through Bill and get John, how do you feel about the orgy of death?
when it's finally like revealed, like what I mean, you hear you hear earlier on in the movie that clearly like the society, as they refer to themselves, like clearly has like a huge, like there's a long tradition of just orgies. So there's orgies going on. Like you don't get to see the orgies, but you get to hear about the orgies. Then like when you finally get to see the orgy, it's the special orgy because it's the orgy where people contribute to society. And how do they contribute to society? Well, let me tell you how they contribute to society. What's happening is these humanoid, subhuman, superhuman people are able to contort their bodies however they want. They become half latex and they just suck on you. So they suck on you and they suck on you until they're done with you. And then they fold you inside out. Because you're done. You're just a used condom at that point, and you're done with you.
Melissa, how do you feel about?
I absolutely love it. I will say we forgot to talk about the orgy scene in Infinity Pool, and I just want to say I prefer this orgy scene.
Yes,
in this movie, because that is the connective tissue. Orgies and rich people. Yeah. But no, I absolutely love this whole sequence. It's amazing. It's ooey gooey. And I love the foreshadowing earlier in the film when Bill says "fuck you, butthead," and then his dad becomes an actual butthead. Like, I mean, what more do you want? And like, I lost my thought.
It's like watching Bill watch his sister's ex-boyfriend basically get sucked on in the most grotesque fashion, and just seeing his reaction to all of this is comedic. 100% comedic. Like, his reaction is just so like, what the fuck is happening? He's grossed out. He doesn't know what the hell is going on, and he just feels like he's gonna be next here.
You know what fit in perfectly there? If they cut away to the dude from Troll 2, like they're eating them. Oh my god! That fits in right there. Right now. I wish they had done that, but yeah, you're 100% right. Because, and actually, what we're forgetting is Melissa touched on the fact like they get very moist. It's a very humid orgy, and the orgy stops, and there is a MMA fight. Have I piqued your interest yet? Orgy stops, MMA fight starts. You want to watch this movie now? I know you do.
God damn right. And the effects, like the makeup of this orgy is fucking incredible. It looks so incredible. The lighting, everything about it is just so fucking amazing. Like this, like that's one thing I will give with 80s horror especially. They brought the effects. Every single time the effects were like, you remember the effects. Even if they are cheaply made, you never forget the effects of these movies. And this one in particular, that scene will live on forever.
I think the key part to that scene is how self-aware it is, because even when the judge like rises back up out of the end of the orgy, he's like, "Oh man, I'm getting too old for this." And he makes a wisecrack about it. You're like, all right, I get it. But yeah, the practical effects are crazy. And then also at the end of the MMA fight, how Bill wins the fight calls back to the orgy, which is fantastic.
There's no business like show business.
That's it.
I love that quote.
Oh my god! Like, we got to bring up what John kind of touched on is like the little spy element in the middle of this movie where like bodies are disappearing, like tapes are being fucking transferred, and they know something's going on in this town. How did you guys feel the actual, I guess, the script part of it, of the spy element, like the little mystery behind the town, if you will?
Yeah, the cloak and dagger aspect, where basically, I mean, hey, let's throw another key term in here. How they gaslight Bill the entire movie.
Yes,
like they're faking deaths, they're switching cars. Like he's making himself look crazy in front of the police. The police are really in on it. Spoiler alert. But but they're basically making him look like a fool. Like when he goes in front of the school during the debate, and he's like, my opponent is dead, and the guy just shows up. It's like, oh man, they're screwing this kid over rough. Yeah, like the cloak and dagger aspect of this movie is actually very well done, I would say.
How about you, Melissa?
I mean, I feel like it's realistic to like real life. I feel like all the rich are just sucking each other off, and like I don't know, like I think all of it works really well, even if it's like silly acting. Kind of towards the beginning, it's that last 20 minutes is all worth it, in my opinion.
I will say, in general, guy who plays Bill, who is also named Billy, Bill Whitney, and he's he's fucking incredible in this movie. He's so much fun.
Well, Bill Whitney is the character. Bill Warlock.
Yes, Bill Warlock is yes. Bill Warlock is the actual actor. He's incredible in this. He's insane. It's over the top, but it works for this story.
Yeah, the scene when he gets out of the hospital and he's like finally like, okay, guys, here we go. And he's like just totally out of hands, like, we're gonna go to the party. Here we go. And he just he's like, all right, that's what I was waiting for. Like when he finally breaks, that's good.
Melissa, how do you feel about the acting in general and Bill?
I mean, I think Bill's great. I love his little mullet that's going on. And I will say, I loved the parents, like just the casting of the parents. Like, I feel like they just were perfect, like just 80s parents that are in a society. Like, that's exactly what I would think of, like how they look and act.
And like, they're so proper. Like, he's like, I'm going to move out. Like, you don't talk to us. And that's like, hey, fuck you. You don't use the F word. And I mean, to go on to like the one big thing like that we're kind of touching on, we're not really talking about. Like, obviously the orgy scene is great, but they tease like the level of practical effects early on in the movie, like because there's all the body contortion, like when you see her in the shower, but her body is turned around, and then when he's like having sex with Clarissa, and her body gets turned around, and they do a lot of like really like practical like. Obviously, there's maybe multiple people, through the bed or whatever, but like the way it's presented is really seamless to the viewer, and I think that's worth noting.
No, absolutely, and I will say specifically when she's in the shower, because I wrote this down in my notes, I was just like, she's like unnecessarily moaning. She's like, and it's like so unnecessary, but I love it because it adds to like
there's actually
of that this like weird stuff that's kind of going on with the family.
Yeah, the one weird thing that's like done on purpose in society, and like you notice it, is like whoever is like the Foley, whoever did the sound effects, added a bunch of like really wacky like Tom and Jerry like sound effects.
Yes.
Like that never happened in real life, but they happen in the movie. And you're like, all right, like every 5 minutes there's like a in the movie for whatever reason.
Exactly, love it.
And then I want to touch on the director here, Brian Yuzna. He produced Reanimator, From Beyond, and then he also co-wrote Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
You could tell.
Like, goddamn, yeah, you look at that and you go, it's wild. Like, he's the director of both the Dentist movies. Like, he has that similar, like, he has a particular style that he likes, and it fucking works in the majority of the shit he's done. He did one of the Return of the Dead sequels as well. I think it's the third one that he did. But how did you guys feel about Brian Yuzna as a whole? If you've seen his other work, is writing, producing, or directing?
Yeah, I mean it works. Like, don't change what works, I guess. Like, it's cheesy, it's gooey, it's practical effects, I don't know. It works for me.
Yeah, as a fan of the Dentist movies, I have to say, like, yeah, he definitely has an eye. Just like we said with Brandon Cronenberg, has an eye for like what he wants the viewer to see, and really delivers on those images in pretty much all these movies you mentioned. There's definitely, if you think of Reanimator, if you think of The Dentist, if you think of Return of the Living Dead Part 3, there's images from those movies that like immediately come to mind, and I imagine that Brian Yuzna is the main force behind them.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I just looked it up. He actually directed Bride of Reanimator and Beyond Reanimator. So he's been a part of that franchise the entire fucking time, which is fucking crazy. And he also produced Warlock, which is another 80s fucking great movie that has insane shit in the middle of it.
Hey, in a future episode, we might talk about Warlock. Who knows?
Very true. Anything else you guys would like to touch on that we haven't actually went over for Society?
If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Yeah, like if you like to I mean, if you like screwball 80s comedies, but also like horror, like you should have seen this by now. It's literally the movie for you. It's like every funny like teen sex romp of the 80s, but body.
I think there's two messages behind both these movies that we can take away from it. Is that do not fuck with the rich because they will fucking kill you.
Or have sex with you.
Yes. So review-wise, I guess I will start with this one. It was easy for me. I love the hell out of this movie. I give it 5 out of 5. It's a great fucking movie. I love everything about this. It's insane. The practical effects are great. Every scene is just funny. It has horror. It flies by to me completely. Like, I will rewatch this movie as much as possible because I just love living in this world with these characters. John, what would you pick?
Yeah, I mean, just based on the fact that it's like a B movie and you got B movie actors, and it's hard for me to like go as a 5-star movie. It's not, but it's definitely a 4-star movie for me. I would recommend this to anybody, but I'm not like going to be campaigning like this deserves awards. It doesn't, but it is a blast. And like this is a movie, like get your friends. Like you're not going to offend anybody. This isn't like come watch a Serbian film. This is come watch Society. Like you can show this to your friends and they won't think you're weird. I say watch Society with your friends.
And Melissa, how about you?
Yeah, I four videotapes for me. I feel bad because like Infinity Pool is like production wise is so much better in that way. Like it's a way higher budget. Like the
Oh,
images,
yeah.
images are a lot better. But like, sorry, going for heart. I had 4 videotapes.
I like it. Generally all positive. Great shit right there. Both these have been a great time to watch and rewatch. Well, for next week, we're going to be doing Scream 6 and Intruder. Now, most of you probably have not, in this community, may not have heard of Intruder, but it has stuff with Sam Raimi involved in it. So, if you like Sam Raimi, check out Intruder. We will see you all next week. Do you guys have anything else you want to bring up before we get going here?
Stick around to the video store. If you haven't done so, why don't you like and subscribe, jerk off? You should do that. If you're here, like, I don't understand why you're not liked and subscribed. And we have other shows too, which Mike will tell you about.
Yes. Yeah, we have, let's see, coming up, we have House Party. We're going to be doing Oscar Talk, which is going to be this Friday. So that's going to be, the next day after this releases. So yeah, we're going to be doing Oscar Talk, me and Payson, and maybe one other. We're still looking in on that. Saturday, a new show with me and Boat drops called At the Video Store with Siskel and Ebert, where we're going to review their reviews. We're turning it on them now. And then also all our other shows. We got Borrow's Set List, which is premiering on the night that this releases. Go check that out. Him and Brooklyn have been doing fucking fantastic with that. We got both show that dropped for Movies on My Life that dropped on Tuesday with Cody. Check that. It gets very emotional. Go check that out.
Very
The Modern
good.
Feed would have been dropped, which has the American president. They're going to be talking about the American president. They're going through Aaron Sorkin, doing extremely well. We got all kinds of other shit going on. Melissa, do you have anything you would like to throw out before we take off here?
No, I agree with everything they just said.
I like that. We will see you all next week for Scream 6 and Intruder. Thank you, everybody.
Why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
Be sure to bring your death certificate.